Every time Africa conducts elections, you hear of African countries calling for donors. And donors coming in, European Union giving money for voter education, verification of voters, materials, voting materials. Some of these projects are done in conjunction with the donor countries. But has the donor become a burden on the economy? Or has the election become a burden on economy? On the economies of African countries? The answer is yes. If you look at most of the African countries, there's no African country that holds election without borrowing money from the donors. Why do we borrow money from the donors, then we refuse accountability? Because we have borrowed their money, you must tell them how much, how far, and how fair, how true, how transparent this election has been. But when it comes to telling the truth of transparency, credibility, openness of an election, African countries, most of them don't want to say fairness, free and fair elections, whether they were conducted freely as per the donors' instructions. What does this do to the economy? An economy like Kenya that has just come out of COVID-19 thanks to President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta steering the country out of COVID-19. We should give him an applause. I saw somewhere that I don't know whether it's a true story, that CNN had selected him as one of the prize winners, the Nobel Prize winner. I don't know, Miriam, you have not checked that story. I don't know whether it is a true story. But I think Uhuru has handled, and I did handle, as far as Kenya's economy. Some of the economies in Africa are reeling from the bad pandemic that took place across the continent. We thank Uhuru for having steered us through this hardship. But then comes an election on top of this after the hardship. Do we pay for these elections ourselves? Yes, partly the money is borrowed. We borrow money. But do we get value for this election? Do we get value? Doesn't it affect our economy? You are borrowing 62 billion shillings to pump into an exercise of 6 hours. Because in Kenya, the climax is 6 hours. The rest of the money is either corruptly eaten by clerical officers, the chairman of these commissions, the managing directors of these commissions, in purchasing the ingredients. One, in purchasing ballot papers, in purchasing BVR machines, in hiring experts for data, so on and so on and so forth. Extra, extra, extra. Is this the election that Africa wants? Yes, elections are good to measure our democracy. But do we need such an expensive election in Africa, really? If that is what it is, let every African country look at its economy. That every 5 years you have to spend 100 billion shillings or dollars or $10 billion to run an exercise where you are going to beat each other. I think time has come for us to rethink about whether elections in Africa is viable or not. Do we need elections where prices of goods are raised, of commodities, of the parts, that all the instruments that go with elections are raised or corruptly increased or ballooned for the sake of the few people earning money, extra kickbacks. The donor, what role does the donor play? The donor plays a very vital role. But why do donors watch and helplessly cry at the end of the election that this election was not free and fair? Yet, when they are pumping in money, the conditions they put are not the conditions that they follow. That is my submission. Elections in Africa, therefore, are a burden to the economies of Africa. We are two small economies. We have the young growing economies. We don't need elections every 5 years. I think it is time for us to think as to whether we need elections every 5 years, or we need elections every 10 years, or we need elections every 1 year, or we don't need them. It is up to you, people in Kenya, in Uganda, in Ethiopia, everywhere, where you have seen elections sparking chaos. Think again. That is my position. That is my take. Thank you. Good morning, or good afternoon, good morning, good evening, across the globe, wherever you are. Thank you.